I have a friend of mine who's I also train with, and I guess this is more of just a question more than anything. And like a lot of men, and it was me at some point in my life, where we maybe been living in our head for so long, we haven't been listening too much to our intuition and maybe following the wrong goals. Like for me, money was a big problem with mine, and just trying to capture that thing. And when I got there, I didn't know why I was there.
Yeah.
And for me, with London Real, I went on this journey where I went and had that ayahuasca ceremony, and it was something that for me, I probably could have got there with meditation, or maybe I could have got there through maybe physical activity, or maybe some dance, or maybe some of that stuff. But for me, I feel like part of me needed just to hardwire my brain to my heart for 3 hours and get this download that I barely could recognize, that was really uncomfortable, and to just show me a window into where maybe I should be. And so it's something we've always talked about on our show, and it was kind of signature, but I've used it 2 or 3 times sparingly in the last 4 years, and I've found that whenever I'm getting anxious, sometimes I find when I'm in a queue, as we call them in London, and I'm frustrated, the queue isn't moving, that I know it's a time when I need to get back to my heart and realize what I should be appreciative of and some of the things in life that are important, as opposed to what I got to do that minute.
Right.
And I was wondering how you feel about things like psychedelics or substance like that might jump people to another opening or another vision as tools, or do you think that's used when maybe we're repressing all these other communicative ways, like you said earlier, like with dance, that are available to us? I want to know your thoughts.
There's a lot of people talking about shamanism now. There's a lot of people around shamanism.
Yeah, and ayahuasca is almost becoming trendy now. And when the ladies in Chelsea who lunch are now talking about it, and then ayahuasca is a very shaman-based piece. And so the language is happening. The other thing, before I let you finish, ayahuasca is funny because LSD brought all of the baggage and the counterculture and the anti-government from the 60s and 70s, which I don't think the world's ever really got over, and so now this is this new substance, new name. It's not, and because you purge, it can't be used as a fun thing, God forbid. So now it's okay, and there seems to be a new conversation, and with shamanism. So
it's great that it's a new conversation.
I agree.
And we like medicine in our culture. I mean, we want
Western culture.
We want a pill for the thing. But if you look at many forms of shamanism, the shaman is doing this. He's dancing and moving, and he's finding the spot, and he's being very sense oriented. He's very in his body. He's moving around, he's singing, because he's awakening that spontaneity in the body that only God could speak through. So I happened upon the work of Wilhelm Reich through Osho, who has a form of meditation that's called dynamic meditation.
Right.
That looks a lot like.
I want to do some of that. Right.
It looks a lot like that.
Right.
And I had some profound experiences. So through that experience, there was no ayahuasca. That wasn't a part of the conversation, at least for me. 15 years ago when I found that.
Doing that, 23, right?
Right.
And you do that for long periods of time, like even up to an hour of that.
Oh,
right?
It's for a full hour.
Whew.
A full hour we're doing that. I mean, you're gonna have something happen, especially if you're fully engaged. Meaning, you have to actively shut your brain off and be fully engaged in the spontaneity. And
right.
there's some tips and tricks to making that happen that I talk about sometimes. But so. That's a group activity, and it's very introspective. And if you allow it, you'll have some tremendous experiences, a lot of catharsis, a lot of that connection that you spoke about. And it carries through. It changes who you are. So the instructor who taught the first class also did private sessions in a craft she called Bioenergetics.
Right.
And I took a bioenergetics session, so it was just she and I. And she had me begin with a lot of heavy breathing. So I think I was in a position like this for about 5 minutes. I mean, I'm going. She's like, faster, harder. Open your mouth, open your eyes, breathe. And then she had me let down and had me do some exercises and moving around. And this is the very first time I had a completely spontaneous emotional release, and it happened with laughter. She had me doing some real awkward exercises, and I broke out into laughter.
It's involving a mattress, maybe?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, up in the mattress. So she had me do this, and I'm seeing her, and I'm going through the dynamic meditation class because I'm depressed. I was going through a really tough time at that moment. I was still in New York. Colleen was we just had the baby. We didn't know what we were going to do. We were living in my father's basement, and I started laughing like I was a 6-year-old again. I mean, I don't know when the last time most of us watching this, if we're adults, laughed that laugh that like your belly hurts. You're laughing so hard and you can't stop. It's like you're possessed by the joy demons. And I got possessed and I could not stop laughing. And I'm apologizing to her at the same time, saying, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. She knows what's going on. I have no clue what's going on. I'm laughing. She's like, it's okay. You have some repressed joy there that's coming out.
Repressed joy.
Right. And so that was my first experience with bioenergetics. And I moved to Florida a few months after that, because a lot of things opened up in me. I was able to see things clearer, because I didn't have I wasn't repressed any longer, and depressed and repressed. I moved down to Florida. A few years after being there, I looked up bioenergetics again, and I found Bob Glazier, who was I mentioned Alexander Lowen. He's a student of Alexander. He was a student of Alexander Lowen. They both passed away. Bob just recently. He was a bioenergetic analyst, who's a psychologist that works mainly with your body. Shaman. He taught me how to breathe and move such that I would have awakening experiences. And I did it on and off with him, sometimes every week for about 3 years. All kinds of stuff came up. A lot of crying, a lot of anger. This is where I was able to resolve a lot of my anger issues, not through talking about it, but by getting it out physically. It almost looks like an exorcism when you're working with somebody in this way. And that's why, when you watch some of these shaman videos on YouTube, it looks a lot like the evangelical churches in the South in the US. They're falling out, they're falling all over the place. The guy's putting the hands on them and they're shaking and shit. And a lot of that goes on because that's our muscular system is holding on to our attention so much that when you get the opportunity to actually open up your breathing and your movement, all kinds of stuff comes up. So I experienced over the course of years the slow release, because the ego needs time to resolve what's going on and process it. The release of a whole lot of baggage that we all ultimately carry. And I'm a pretty expressive person, so I could sometimes you get someone who's been so repressed that like it's ugly.
As in they just cry or they really get emotional?
Yeah, it's just it's an avalanche, and I had some pretty deep avalanches, but with regard to psychedelics. So it's the first time I'm saying it on TV. I've used ayahuasca, and the way I describe it was a instant manifestation of 3 years of bioenergetics. In other words, what I did for 3 years, I don't want to say happened in 1 minute, but it brought me back to the experience. Because what happened for me was a lot of the same catharsis. I was able to go with it because I wasn't afraid of my unconscious, which has a lot of suffering and sobbing. So I went right into sobbing. I started with laughter, but I went into a lot of deep sobbing, crying like a baby. But I was familiar with it, yeah.
Right. But you had done that before.
I'd done it for so many years that I was like, oh, I know what
it.
this is. These are my repressed tears.
Okay.
And I allowed it to happen. So, it can happen naturally. It's just that you'd have to do it through your body. You have to open up your breathing and move. You got to actually, like we were talking about before, you got to be expressive. You got to get your physiology involved. Or you could take some medicine and it's just going to happen to you.
Okay. I know you don't like the word bad or good, but is one better than the other?
Well, what's required with what I described as my journey is a safe place, a trusted mentor, somebody be there with you, and a rigorous process, meaning that like we have a process here, and when this happens, we do this. So what we really need are seasoned shamans. We need highly educated, grounded here today, seasoned shamans. And it's probably going to end up being like psychologists, and especially those that go into neo-Reichian forms of psychology, which is all body oriented. Or a guy who knows how to mix up some tea or have you smoke something and just keeps you in a little area. So, you know, it's not good or bad. It's just this is like going to university, and this is like you know, a weekend course. You know, do you want it right now and you get the same certificate, or do you work with someone and develop a relationship and, you know, purge over the course of months or years?
Did you have a good shaman? To watch the rest of this fascinating interview, click on the link below and go to londonrealacademy.com. There you can sign in with your social media, log in and watch the rest of the episode for free, along with all of our episodes on London Real, my webinars, and all of our premium content, all located over at londonrealacademy.com. So click on the link below, you'll be directed there, and you can watch the rest of this fascinating interview, and I'll see you there.